When people imagine the samurai, one weapon always comes to mind: the katana. Curved, elegant, razor-sharp, the sword is seen as the very soul of the samurai. But the truth is much deeper. For nearly 1,000 years, the samurai relied on a wide arsenal of weapons. The bow, the spear, the naginata, daggers, and eventually firearms all played vital roles in their wars. Each weapon told a story of adaptation and survival. This is the story of the weapons of the samurai. In the earliest days, the bow was the master of the battlefield. The weapon was called the yumi. It was unlike any bow in the world, over 2 meters tall, asymmetrical in shape, crafted from bamboo and wood. The grip was placed far below the center, allowing samurai to shoot while riding horseback. This style of mounted archery was called yabusame. In the Heian period, the samurai were known less for their swords and more for their skill with the bow. Battles often began with mounted archers calling out their names, firing arrows in a rain of death, and then charging into melee. For centuries, the yumi was the true weapon of the samurai. But war is never static. As the 14th century brought more large-scale clashes, the spear, the yari, rose to prominence. The yari was a straight, thrusting spear with a sharp steel blade mounted on a long shaft. Some were short, others up to 6 meters long. In formation, ranks of samurai and ashigaru foot soldiers held yari like a wall of blades. They could stop cavalry charges, pierce armor, and overwhelm enemies. Unlike the sword, the yari worked in disciplined groups. It transformed samurai warfare from duels between individuals into organized armies. Closely related to the yari was the naginata. This polearm carried a curved blade at its tip, almost like a sword on a staff. The naginata was versatile. It could slash, thrust, and sweep entire groups of opponents aside. It became a favored weapon of warrior monks who carried them into temple battles. It was also taught to women of the samurai class, the onna-bugisha. Armed with naginata, women could defend their homes against invaders with deadly efficiency. Its reach made it ideal for holding ground against armored attackers. And then came the sword. The tachi was an early form of curved blade worn edge down. By the late 14th century, it evolved into the katana. Shorter, quicker to draw, worn edge up through the belt. Forging a katana was an art form in itself. A master swordsmith folded steel again and again, purifying it, balancing hardness and flexibility. The process could take weeks or months. The result was a blade that could cut with incredible sharpness, yet withstand the impact of battle. Samurai carried the katana with a shorter companion blade, the wakizashi. Together, they formed the daishō, meaning big little. Wearing a daishō was the privilege of the samurai alone. It was not only a weapon set, it was a badge of honor. The katana was more than a tool of war. It was considered the soul of its owner. If a samurai lost his sword, he lost his identity. Duels between samurai were fought with katana, and entire schools of swordsmanship were built around perfecting its use. Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's most famous swordsman, developed the style of fighting with 2 blades at once. The katana became the weapon that defined the samurai spirit. But war never stays the same. In 1543, Portuguese traders arrived in Japan. With them, they brought a weapon the samurai had never seen, the matchlock gun. The Japanese called it the Tanegashima, after the island where it first appeared. At first, samurai dismissed it as crude and dishonorable. A sword required skill. A bow required years of training, but a gun could be fired by anyone. Yet ambitious warlords quickly saw its power. Oda Nobunaga, one of Japan's most brilliant leaders, deployed thousands of gunners at the Battle of Nagashino in 1575. Using wooden barricades, they fired in rotating volleys, devastating the charging cavalry of his enemies. It was a revolution. The bow faded. The age of the gun had begun. Even with firearms on the battlefield, the katana never disappeared. It remained the personal symbol of the samurai. During the long peace of the Tokugawa shogunate, samurai rarely needed to fight real wars. But they still wore the daishō, and their katana became symbols of their honor and discipline. Sword schools flourished, and the philosophy of the blade became central to their identity. Firearms may have won battles, but the katana remained the heart of the warrior. Armor was just as important as weapons. The earliest samurai wore oyoroi, heavy, boxy armor made of lacquered plates tied with silk cords. It was designed for archers on horseback, offering protection but limited movement. As combat shifted to foot soldiers and melee, armor evolved into domaru and later tosei gusoku, which were lighter and allowed flexibility. The famous samurai helmet, the kabuto, often featured horns, crests, or fearsome masks called menpo. These were not only protection but psychological weapons meant to terrify enemies. Samurai also carried smaller weapons. Daggers called tanto were used in close combat or ritual seppuku. Throwing blades like shuriken were hidden tools for distraction. Even iron war fans, called tessen, were carried by some samurai. These could parry blades or signal troops during battle. Every weapon had a place. Every tool had meaning. By the 17th century, with peace across Japan, weapons became more symbolic. Samurai no longer fought constant wars. Their weapons represented rank, culture, and tradition rather than daily battle. Still, they trained endlessly. Archery, swordsmanship, spearfighting, all were practiced as martial arts to preserve discipline. The tools of war had become the tools of spirit. The weapons of the samurai tell a story of change, from the towering yumi bow to the disciplined yari spear to the sweeping naginata, from the razor edge of the katana to the thunder of the matchlock gun. Each weapon reflected the times, the needs, and the spirit of the warrior. Together, they reveal not just how the samurai fought, but how they lived. The samurai were more than swordsmen. They were archers, spearmen, commanders, and eventually even gunners. Each weapon they carried shaped the history of Japan. And though the samurai as a class are long gone, their weapons remain symbols of honor, discipline, and power.